Good morning, students. Today we are going to read the income elasticity of demand in the topic of elasticity of demand in the subject of economics O levels. So concentrate yourself. Here we are going to start the income elasticity of demand. Income elasticity of demand measures the responsiveness of the demand to a change in income. So this is actually covering, this topic is actually covering the responsiveness of the demand to a change in income. And here is the formula. Income elasticity of demand is equal to percentage change in quantity demanded over percentage change in income. Income elasticity of demand is equal to QD2 minus QD1 over QD1 multiplied by 100 over I2 minus I1 over I1 multiplied by 100, where D2 is the final demand of the quantity, a final demand of the commodity. D1 is the initial demand of the commodity, and I2 is the final income, and I1 is the initial income. So this is the formula for the income elasticity of demand. Here we are going to read the categories of the income elasticity of demand. There are various categories of income elasticity of demand. The number one is negative. Demand decreases as income increases. The numerical value will be negative. So when we will put the values into the formula, the final answer will be negative. So that will show that the income elasticity of the demand is negative. This applies only to the inferior goods. An individual or firm will buy less of a particular good as income rises. So definitely as the income rises, people or firms tend to purchase less of the commodity which are of the inferior quality. Note, if after making a calculation, a good has a negative income elasticity of demand, then it is an inferior good. Next is elastic. Demand changes by a greater proportion than income. So when the income will rise, there will be a greater change in the proportion of the quantity demanded than income. The result when applying the formula will be greater than 1. So this is the sign of the goods to be inelastic. So when the values will be put in the formula, the answer will be greater than 1. If income changes, so look now, this is the explanation. If income changes by 20%, quantity demanded would change by more than 20%. So it means demand changes by greater proportion than income. So look again, if income changes by 20%, quantity demanded would change by more than 20%. Examples are CDs, restaurant meals, etc. Because when the people get the income increase, they spend more on CDs, restaurant meals, etc. So these are elastic commodities. The next thing, the next category is unity. Demand changes by the same proportion as the income. So the fraction will be equal to 1. So when we will put the values into the formula, the answer will be 1. So here is the explanation. If income rises by 20%, quantity demanded would rise by also 20%. So look now again, demand changes by the same proportion as income. The next category is the inelastic. Demand changes by a lesser proportion than income. The fraction will be less than 1. So when we will put the values into the formula, the answer will be less than 1. If income falls by 20%, quantity demanded would fall by less than 20% because these are the necessity goods or the habit forming goods. So if the change in the price will, if the income fall by 20%, there will not be a change on the commodity to be fall by 20%, so the change will be lesser than 20% because the things are necessity or the habit forming. For example, bread, milk, other essential goods, for example, cigarettes, petrol, etc. If a good has a positive income elasticity of the demand, any of the three situations above, then it is a normal good and you have to identify it as such. The next category that is we are going to read is the zero. Demand does not change even if income changes. The numerical value will be zero. So when we will put the values into the formula, the answer will be zero. This would apply to goods and services whose consumption is either independent of the income or whose expenditure is a very small part of the total expenditure, and examples are salt, matches. So if the income increases or decreases, the proportion spent on the salt and matches will remain unchanged. The next thing that we are going to read in the lecture is the cross price elasticity of the demand. It measures the responsiveness of the demand for one good to a change in the price of an other good. Look now again, responsiveness of demand for one good to a change in the price of an other good. Example is, if the price of the good B increases by 30%, by how much would the demand for good A change? So we are going to look the relationship between the change in the price of one good and the change in the demand of an other good. If we know that the cross price elasticity of the demand, we would be able to answer that question. Cross price elasticity of the demand, the formula is percentage change in quantity demanded of good A over percentage change in price of good B. So one commodities will be discussed as a demand and the other commodity will be discussed as a price. Categories of the cross price elasticity of demand. It is obviously makes sense to analyze the cross elasticity of demand for goods that influence each other. That is why we will focus on these substitutes and complements because they have influence on one another. The first category is cross price elasticity is positive for substitutes. So look now, substitutes are the goods that are in competitive demand. If the price of one of the two substitute goods rises, then people will opt for the relatively cheaper competitive good. Therefore, the demand for the substitute good will go up and the demand for the good whose price has risen would go down. And here is the example that will make your concepts more clear. For example, lemon and lime are substitutes of each other. For example, Coke, Coca-Cola and Pepsi Cola are substitutes of each other. So look now, the price of the lime rises by 30%. So definitely its demand will decrease and consequently the people will opt this substitute, that is lemon. So demand for lemon goes up by 25%. Although the price of the lemon is remains same, but because of the rise in the price of the lime, the demand of the lime will go down and the demand of the lemon will go up. This is because people would move away from the good whose price has gone up and would buy the substitute good whose price has not changed. Working by the formula of the cross elasticity of demand presented previously, we can calculate the cross elasticity of demand. Cross price elasticity of demand, the formula is QDA2 minus QDA1 over QDA1 whole divided by PB2 minus PB1 over PB1. So this is the formula. We know that when the sign of the cross elasticity is a positive, then the good are substitute. So this is very important point. So when the sign of the cross elasticity is positive, the goods will be substitute each other, and mathematically we know when plus plus are multiplied or plus plus are divided, so the final answer will be positive. And when minus minus are multiplied or minus minus are divided with each other, so sign will be positive. So if the percentage change in the quantity demanded of good A and the percentage change in the price of good B are both positive or both negative, then the elasticity figure will be positive. The next thing that we are going to read is the cross price elasticity is negative for complements. Complements are the goods that are in joint demand. So this is the definition of the complements. Goods that are in joint demand. For complements, if the price of one of the goods goes up, then the demand for the good that is in joint demand will go down along with the demand for the good whose price has risen. So the explanation is because they are in joint demand. So if the price of one good rises, definitely the demand of that good will go down. At the same time, the good that is in joint demand, the demand of that good will also be go down. So because they are in joint demand. Complements, we know that minus and plus are multiplied or minus or plus are divided with each other, the final answer is minus. And when plus and minus are multiplied with each other and plus or minus are divided with each other, the answer is minus. If the percentage change in quantity demanded of good A is negative and the percentage change in the price of the good B is positive, then the elasticity figure will be negative. And here is an example. Look now. So this is the example for you people to understand how the question of this topic as a numerical come in the paper. So look now. Apples price quantity demanded per week. So in week 1, the price was 20 and the quantity demanded was 250. In week 2, the price was 15 and the quantity demanded was 300. Whereas the pears in week 1, the price was 20, quantity demanded is 200. In week 2, the price is same, but the quantity demanded is 100 now. So look now, the cross elasticity of demand between the apples and pears if the price of the apples falls from 20 to 15. So 100 minus 200. So look now, 100 minus 200 over original, that is 200, over 15 minus 20 over 20, that was original, multiply by 100%. So when you will solve it, the answer will be positive. So this is the question, and here is a question for you people to practice. So this was the lecture, students. I hope so this will be much more easier for you to understand now. So read this lecture again, understand it, learn it, and make your notes. Thank you so much.